All right. Random access memories.
Random access memories. This is an album I like a lot. Another album that came out when we were in high school. We've done a few of those lately with To Pimp a Butterfly, and we talked about on the Frank Ocean episode discovering that music. And this is around the same time.
Around the same time. This came out in 2013, and those albums came out in, 2015, 2016?
2012. Well, Good Kid, Mad City came out in 2012, I think. To Pimp a Butterfly came out 2015, but Channel Orange 2012. It was
right.
I don't understand how the Grammys work, because I remember it would have had to have been, since this came out in 2013, it would have had to have been the 2014 Grammys, because I believe Daft Punk that year they won Best Album was the same year Channel Orange. I think he won Best Urban Contemporary Album.
So did they play on the same Grammy performance?
Yes.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, I remember that being the best Grammys, for me at least, because you had Frank Ocean playing Forrest Gump, and then you also had Daft Punk up there with Stevie Wonder playing Get Lucky.
Yeah, I like the idea of that, and that was definitely my time, and I remember watching it. But both of their performances kind of didn't go as well as they could have. And both of it was kind of Frank Ocean, I guess, vocally, and then Stevie Wonder, too, vocally. He was just, not having his best performance. But
I'd have to go back and look at it, because I remember thinking that Stevie Wonder and Daft Punk killed it. Because
you said
Pharrell
that
was up there, too, and Nile Rodgers, right?
Yes, and Omar Hakim, and I forget the bass player's name, who was on a lot of the album, but he played with them as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their only performance.
Yeah, from this era. Yeah, most definitely.
That's probably my biggest bummer, and I guess every Daft Punk fan's biggest bummer is the fact that they didn't play any shows for Random Access Memories.
Yeah, because people were somewhat expecting it, especially because the announcement of this album was very public. They did a Saturday Night Live teaser, I believe, and then a commercial that played at Coachella that year.
Mm-hmm. So if they're gonna play a commercial at Coachella, you think, oh my god, they're coming back, but they didn't do any performances. I guess it would have been difficult to do the performances because of how highly produced the album was. A lot of the string parts had a 70-person orchestra on it, so there's that aspect. And knowing Daft Punk as being perfectionists, I'm sure they wouldn't have done it with anything less, but they could have totally pulled it off if they wanted to. Hell, they could still pull it off if they wanted to.
Yeah, they've remixed they remixed Get Lucky, at least. It would have been very interesting to see how they worked this set of songs into their set list if they did a live performance. Yeah, but I don't know. I think one of them was having a problem with their ear, going deaf. So I'm not sure exactly why they didn't tour this album. I'd be interested to know.
I heard that rumor too. I haven't heard anything about it other than that, because they officially broke up in 2021, apparently.
Yeah.
After just a few years of radio silence and some, just a couple releases that had to do with Random Access Memories. And then and they also did a couple pop-up shops, which I forgot about, but that must have been 2015, 2016.
I think it was 2017 when that started with the Off-White.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was that day we saw Metallica at the Palladium. We went there before, but it was already closed. Right. So I think it was...
It was already closed. Everything sold out. Yeah. Should have waited in line for that, but we had Metallica at the Palladium, so that was pretty good. That was a pretty good replacement.
Yeah.
But... So they officially broke up in 2021, and then there's a interview that came out recently, maybe it has to be less than a month ago. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago with Thomas, I believe, where he basically just explained that Daft Punk is like a closed chapter at this moment in time, and they don't have anything that they want to say to the world, basically. And if they are going to do something, if they want it to be that big and impactful, so if they don't have that, they'd rather just close the book on it, and with the limited releases they have, say we have a great discography, and it was a great run, and now we're going to move on to other things. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I respect it. I respect it. I'm sad I never get to see them, but I totally respect that.
Yeah, yeah. So few bands and artists get to be in that sort of position where the first major release is a like success, and then in hindsight a classic, and then and then the next album is like a different sound, but it's almost, it's like better basically, and it has its own identity. And then the third one, similar thing. I didn't love that album as much, but there's a lot I do love about it. What is the third one called, with Robot Rock? And
oh, not Homework. That's the first one, right? Okay, so the first one is Homework. Then there's Human After All.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Human After All is probably their
that's a cool
least
song, though.
Popular album. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting because they came in with a new flavor on that album as well. But there's this instrument or this sound that they use throughout the album that I don't know why they got so stuck on it and put it on almost all of the songs. It's like this loud, distorted bass thing that almost sounds like it's like a verbal like thing, because I don't know the way that it like warps. It's like a bow, bow, bow,
right,
bow, and they use it a lot, and it's all over the album. But it's such like an insane, like gnarly sound. That's one of the things I didn't like about it.
That's kind of my main thing with it, and why I don't like go back to it very often, is because it has this kind of gritty, fast sort of EDM vibe to it that it's just hard to listen to for like an entire album's length. But yeah, there's some great tracks, and at the end of the day, I respect the fact that they did something different and they went like full on with it, which is something that they're really good at. They're very aware of not painting themselves into a box, which is what makes them so sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after that, it kind of just goes like insane. What? Oh, I didn't even realize Discovery was before Human After All. Okay. Yeah. And then after that, you have the Tron Legacy, and then finally Random Access Memories to close it out.
Yeah, so they had kind of hit the two classics out of the gate, and then your third album, it's a new direction, and there's a lot of single, kind of similar to like Slipknot, like Volume 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of gives you some, I guess, grace to where it doesn't need to be like a hit album or anything like that. But it's really interesting to hear those three albums, and then you get Random Access Memories as the fourth one. Obviously, if you do not count Tron or the Alive album, the second Alive album. But yeah.
Yes. So there's the Alive 2007 album, which is their last live album, which is known as kind of one of the greatest albums probably of all time, especially live albums. It's definitely in the top 10 of greatest live albums, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, from there, and then Tron, I would say Tron I wouldn't count as like one of their albums because it's so highly conceptualized already, because it's within a movie.
Yeah, it's a soundtrack.
And Random Access Memories was where they took their whole ethos into a completely different direction and basically reinvented everything that they had ever done before, almost to the point where it's like a new thing, where they could have released this not even as like Daft Punk almost. That's how different it is.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting the choices they made to keep it in the like Daft Punk universe. A big thing, obviously, because it's covered in a live instrumentation. And I'm sure some ways they chopped up those recordings and stuff. The music, despite all like the changes and new style, a lot of it feels very like in character with Daft Punk music, but the vocals. So even on like the second or fourth song, they really they made it like those vocoder vocals that they, I guess, I don't know when they started, more so on Discovery. Kept doing on Human After All. They make that like the
on
leads.
On the end of Get Lucky or something like that, or Doing It Right.
Well, that's more of like the style of like Discovery, but like for like the Game of Love and Within, they almost make it like that vocalist. That's like a vocalist for like the lead singer of a band.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
For like an R&B band.
True.
Because the tunes are just it's not really like a mix or anything. It's like almost like an indie R&B tune, and the lead singer is vocoder Daft Punk. And one of the interesting things that like is this, when you listen to this album, it seems I enjoy it because it sounds like very expensive and like hard to make, when they get such like great musicians and record it in probably one of the best studios around using $50,000 microphones. But for the vocoders, apparently they're very, very specific. It won't just be sort of like an effect that they'll carry out for like 8 bars or something. They'll do like line by line using like different stuff to get like the whole, like the sound just right for like certain words and pronunciations of stuff. So it's pretty, it sounds awful to work that way, but
it goes back to them just being extreme perfectionists. Like they'll take 4 measures of a synth sound, not even of the whole song, like of a synth sound, and they'll work on it for like over a week.
Yeah.
Which is just insane.
It pays off, especially this album.
Right.
All the sounds are very nice.
The thing is, it pays off if you know what you're doing. And they are just masters of their craft, of synthesizing, creating sounds, producing sounds, probably because of their background. Their background in sampling and identifying what music sounds the best, what sounds sound the best, what people enjoy hearing, and they kind of use all that knowledge to create random access memories, instrumentation wise and like production wise.
Yeah, and also just money, access to money, and getting to work with people. So whatever records I think they were into, I'm guessing like late 70s type of a thing. I heard something, I think Nile Rodgers talked about it, about Tomas driving him down like Laurel Canyon or something during the sunset and playing, I'm assuming something off Rumors. They said Fleetwood Mac, and he was just trying to like, fill this and stuff, which is pretty funny because if the cover art for Get Lucky is that sunset. So it's interesting to think like that was the vibe they were going for, and that was definitely like the song of the summer that year.
So I dug a little deeper into kind of the collaborator stories, because Daft Punk doesn't talk a ton about any of their music.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that like the best way to kind of learn more about this album was to look at all the interviews with the collaborators.
Yes.
And it was Todd Edwards, the guy who's on Fragments of Time. They basically wrote that song about just like chilling in LA, driving with the top down, through Laurel Canyon, and kind of just trying to capture like that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the vibe for that song specifically, but for the entire album,
it's probably him.
Like
that's probably the interview I'm referencing.
Yeah, probably. It was a cool batch of interviews. I'll have to check it out. I'll have to find the name, but It was a Vice documentary where they interviewed like 8 of the collaborators, and
That's interesting.
basically, yeah,
Because
basically
Spotify
they
has
all
a thing
said,
too.
right, right, yeah. I have to check the Spotify one out, but they basically said that Daft Punk's idea for this album was to take the stuff that they had been sampling their entire career. So all this music from the 60s and 70s and 80s that they've been sampling, regardless of genre, and try to recreate it in the studio with modern technology, but still keeping that vintage vibe that made it so special, right? Because everybody's always like, oh, music was better in the 70s, music was better in the 80s. And Daft Punk really took a look at that and said, well, why was music better then? And can we recreate that? And the fact that they pulled it off is like insane.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. And, instead of sampling records where you have to, sample the whole thing, you're recording your own instruments directly and, could have people improvise, at certain times that you want, and then, get the stuff that, you want. Rather than having to sample a 3-minute record, you have 30 minutes of a jam over the chords you wrote to go to pick from. So it's just
right. Instead of grabbing like a niche David Bowie drum break that Omar Hakim was on, well, why don't we just get Omar Hakim in here? Excuse me, with
the most expensive mics in the world,
tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, and just see what he comes up with, and we'll give him kind of the energy and the emotion and the overall theme of the album that we want him to play on. So it's a really cool way to do an album. It's not a way that I've ever heard of, an artist doing it to, and just the execution is like insane. But when you have those type of session players, you're gonna get something great,
Yeah. Obviously
they're very much like directors. I think of a movie. They had this vision in their head, and they have the idea, and then they were able to get the actors who were like these session musicians to play, and not only to play, but to bring something out of them that maybe even that player didn't even know that they had. Something like a Rick Rubin would do. It's a cool concept,
Yeah, or D'Angelo.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Do you remember when this album was kind of rolling out?
It was, in 2013, I was in either 9th or 10th grade. So I was in like middle school, or my first year of high school when it was coming out. But what do you remember?
So, I wasn't, Daft Punk hadn't come out with an album in a while. And as far as like what I knew about them, I had never really gone through a phase. But they were pretty famous, obviously, because, when I was a kid, that Tron movie, that was maybe just like, I don't know, 3 years before or something. And the only songs I probably would have ever known were One More Time and Around the World. To which, when I first heard Around the World, I remember I didn't really care for it. Not until I saw like the music video on YouTube, probably, a couple years later or what.
Right.
But one day in class, I remember from school, he asked me if I heard like, or he just told me that Daft Punk was going to come out with music, and there was about like a 2-minute or maybe less than snippet from Get Lucky, just the instrumental. It was the guitar riff with all the instruments, and he played it for me. And I remember pretty like specifically, like it made me excited that the guitar was the main thing. And I remember it seemed like Daft Punky to me even then, just like, the main riff to Get Lucky, the guitar riff. And then, it was
Miles Roger.
Yeah, it just sounded like really chill, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like fucking cool, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think Get Lucky must have come out. That must have been something in like sometime in like February. Let's see, when did Get Lucky come out? Sometime in spring. And then I just remember like they promoted it when it came out. There was like that video with Pharrell and Niles Rodgers. But not until I heard someone playing it at school. And then like later that same day, I heard it on the radio and I was like, oh shit, like this is like a fucking hit. And it was a good song.
It's always great when there's such a good song that becomes popular and you get to hear it like around you, because usually, these songs that end up getting picked up in the top 40s and you hear around you get so tired of so quickly. But I can still listen to Get Lucky. I can still get down with it, which is a testament to the song itself. But what do you think makes it so special in that way, that it can be played over and over again and as a top hit and you could still like listen to it?
It's nothing like you could really describe as far as like why stuff stays good for a long time. For something to be, I mean, in my eyes, like a cool creative song, but then also be a hit. That's like such a weird combination of things that need to happen, and it doesn't really happen all the time.
Right.
The Beatles were good at that as far as like showing you something, kind of different and good and forward thinking, but then it becoming a number one and playing on the radio. Prince did stuff like that. So it only happens every so often. So I think that's why I got into this album a lot. It kind of gave me a place, because before that, beginning of high school, I was still kind of like the classic rock kind of guy. And this music along, Channel Orange came out the summer before, and I was getting into John Mayer, I think, around that time, because they all kind of had like guitar music and it was like new music, so it kind of like gave me a place within people, like with people my age,
Yeah.
because you could like talk to people at school, like you guys were listening to the same thing, and I never really had a ton of that. The years prior, when I was just going full metal and classic rock, you didn't really have that at school. So yeah, that it kind of drew me towards to like really listening to the album more, just because it was just interesting to listen to, and it was cool that like I could talk about it with like just like anyone.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, I feel like with a lot of music that I listen to, it's easy to become sort of alienated in whatever the zeitgeist is at the time. But we really hit the perfect sweet spot, in those late 2010s of great songs, unique songs that are more substance, that hit the mainstream. So we were able to kind of connect with people on that level, and still are, so yeah, I can relate to you on that.
Yeah, I get what you said, except for why do you say late 2010s?
Well, I guess this is 2013, but I should say anywhere from 2013 to 2017.
Just like for anything from that to Tame Impala kind of a thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Kendrick, any things that were popular, in the world and society, as well as very detailed, substantive, and just really impressive to hear and catchy.
Yeah, that's huge. Which is when people say weird stuff, about like rock and roll being dead and stuff, it's like that's not even like the conversation anymore. Like, Random Access Memory, super like ambitious, interesting album. Both Good Kid, Mad City, and I guess more so with To Pimp a Butterfly. Very ambitious, new Channel Orange and Blonde.
Right.
And then even the Tame Impala stuff. Yeah, and a lot of people, it's kind of easier, especially now with the internet and stuff. You kind of just meet people who feel the same way, and I would even throw Plastic Beach in there with Gorillaz.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all, I don't know if it's just me and my jive, but like all that music really goes well together.
Right, right. Well, what do you think of? I know that you're a big Animal Collective guy. What do you think of Panda Bear's contribution to Random Access Memories?
This was the first time I ever heard of what a Panda Bear was, as far as a musician.
Yeah.
So this is what got me into it. I like this song still, and this is usually the song it's a song that like I play for people that people will ask about and stuff. I know it's pretty like repetitive. There's like two parts to it, but I think it's like the only song that doesn't have live drums and bass guitar. It's like 808 and electric drums. But
right,
yeah, it's very nice. I love it towards the end of the album. Yeah, it's a great song. I love Panda Bear's voice on it. I love his performance. It was interesting hearing him talk about the process of making it, though.
Yeah, that you must have seen that same interview as me, because it is interesting to hear kind of how he felt about it. He said he was really nervous going into it. I'd be fucking nervous, especially coming from a background of like, yeah, and it didn't go well until the end, like the last like couple of hours. Yeah,
just keep trucking.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's cool for Daft Punk to also see that vision, knowing that you're getting people like Pharrell and Niles Rodgers, and Giorgio Moroder, like just massive session people who could literally play anything that you give them. But you take somebody like Panda Bear, who's more organic, comes from a completely different background of just more creativity, and are able to give him a chance to shine on an album like this that's so perfectionist. I thought was interesting, because he just like sticks out to me in terms of all the collaborators on the album. It's not that he doesn't fit, it's just that he's so opposite of all of the other collaborators on the album that it's like an interesting choice to me.
That's funny. That's funny you say that, because I never thought about it quite like that, but that's really true.
Yeah. I wonder if it was intentional, or what the logic behind that was, but we'll probably never know.
Yeah, I guess there's just like there's a difference between like how a lot of people work, but I guess from being a singer to being a musician, because like it's so much different than having session musicians. If you get a room of session musicians and have them like start playing pretty quickly, you're gonna start picking out like, oh, like they sound nice just because they're so like it's like a well-oiled machine. They're so experienced and this is what they do. But yeah, and then someone like Panda Bear who works like the opposite, like trying a bunch of bad stuff until something good comes out. Yeah, but I wonder how like the process was with like Julian Casablanca and Pharrell too. I heard the Pharrell one, like it went by quick and he didn't remember the song after until like it came out.
So I guess the story is that they were trying to link up for a while, and then Daft Punk was like, hey, we have 3 days, like, can you make it to the studio and we can like work on this song? And Pharrell went, and I guess he was like super jet lagged, and so Daft Punk gave him like this random like dissolvable tablet, like that was in like water, and they said it was like some sort of like holistic medicine, and they had him take it, and when he took it, like he was like super energized, but at the end like he like basically blacked out and like just remembers like leaving the studio. And so he said that he heard it with like fresh ears when he finally heard Get Lucky for the first time, and that he was like amazed by it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And this was
a wild story.
I don't know if it was the beginning of like Pharrell. I think it was of like Pharrell's like when he started to go on a roll, because this is definitely before he started wearing like that big brown hat. Remember?
Yeah, because this was
Yeah,
2013, and that was in like 20. I
14.
like 2014. Oh, so like right after.
Yeah, because he came out. The Despicable Me 2 movie maybe came out in like the summer or something, like later on this year. But then like the Happy video didn't come out until like way later in the year. Um, but yeah, we'll talk, I
Yeah,
guess, Pharrell another time or so. I mean, like a focus on him.
definitely.
But
But
yeah,
I want to say one thing about Pharrell and Daft Punk is I see a lot of similarities in the way that they work. I feel like they work very well together. I mean, you can hear that they work very well together, but their process, their creativity, and kind of the way that they think about music, I feel like is very similar.
yeah, they were in like the same era, even though they weren't in the same like genre of music. But I could totally see them like gravitating towards each other because they're able to do that very like rare thing where you make cool original stuff and you have your own style, but you're able to exist within the like mainstream. And it's cool
Right.
that they went and did that together because they like were accomplishing that like separately, and that doesn't always work out if you take like you know, uh, let's have Tame Impala make a song with Kendrick Lamar, and it might just be shit and stuff. So the fact
Right.
that it worked out into like a genuine hit that like was cool to play like around the average folk,
Fuck
uh,
it. I'm
the
petitioning for a Daft Punk
civilians.
Pharrell. I'm petitioning for a Daft Punk Pharrell collaboration album.
I'm sure if they felt they could do it, like I'm sure Daft Punk was making music like in this time. They haven't. Uh, y- if they did that, it might just like not be good and stuff. I
Well, this
imagine.
is the thing too about Daft Punk and Pharrell. Well, Daft Punk in particular, they're all about like capturing moments, and they're very self-aware of like when that moment is over. So I mean, it'll probably never happen because I would imagine that their logic would be like, well, we already did that, and we already did like what we wanted to do, and so there's nothing else like to say, you know. But nah,
Well,
that shit would be sick if they actually tried.
actually, yeah, they did collaborate again. It's on Pharrell's album "Girl," "Gust of Wind."
Oh, I don't even know
Yeah,
if I've ever heard that song. Is it
yeah,
good?
it's fine. I bought that album the day it came out, and I would listen to it a lot. There's only I think like 8 songs or something on it, and that was one I remember liking. There's cool strings and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's just it might just be them like their vocals, honestly.
Like the
Because
vocoder vocals.
yeah, because they do the chorus. Um,
Ah,
but I'm actually interested to. Yeah, it's a Pharrell produced beat.
oh, that's sick.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a pretty. I mean, listen to it if you're a fan, type of a thing. Like, it's definitely worth listening to. Um, but just also like it wasn't a hit or anything, so it doesn't always work out. And I don't even know if that's like a song that fans love that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was like a Pharrell head like in high school, so I was pretty like into it. In hindsight, probably not as great of a song as I had thought.
Yeah, but it's a cool duo. It's cool seeing them work with like others like that, and I know that they broke up or whatever, but if they pop up here and there, which I'm sure after some time they will, I'm excited to see who they work with.
Yeah, they should. They're talented guys, so they should. I'm sure they do work with people. Um, like on the side, not as Daft Punk, but just individually. Well, they have
Yeah,
before.
why? Tomat just released a solo album.
A full solo album.
I
Did he really?
believe so.
'Cause
Yeah.
before he only had like a handful of songs and stuff that you could listen to. So that's big news. It's big
Yeah,
exclusive.
well, that's why he did that interview. It's either a batch of songs or an album. I have to look deeper into it, but he did release new music, so I have to check it out.
There's one song by him that I like a lot. It's like the same loop like the whole time, and it's like, you know, a house, like the same sample, but I don't know, it's pretty fucking good. And it's like very like gritty sounding.
How did his music differ from like Daft Punk's?
This is now we're not even like talking about Random Access Memories that much, but that's okay because this is actually pretty interesting from my experience because I've listened to like stuff that they've both done.
Yeah, and we still have some time. We can go back to the album.
Let's see, because I wasn't listening to these songs preparing for this, but it also hasn't been that long since I was listening to this. The one I like a lot, it's just the Daft Punk songs, except for Homework. Homework is more like standard, I guess, house. But that I don't know why, I don't know. It doesn't like progress into like any other sections of a song.
Oh,
and he like messes around with the drums though, but I like all the stuff that he's doing and all the fills, not like fills, but like whatever. I don't know how DJs work and producers work in that fashion, like chopping up samples to like do like some cool different stuff.
Yeah.
But the other one in Daft Punk Guy, he produced this album for I forgot the guy's name. It's like Sebastian something. Another like French artist, and that one I feel like you would like because it's like from 2006. I've maybe even sent you a couple of songs, and it's like very big production. It sounds like, I'm guessing, like the drums and bass for Horizon were done by him. He's the one with long hair. I have to look up what that album is called. It's called like Sex something. Sex
is it the dude that wears the hat? Like he's always wearing a baseball cap?
In Daft Punk?
No. The guy that he worked with. Sebastian.
There's like two Sebastian French musicians. And one of them goes by like Sebastian with like one of the A's capitalized or something. And the other one is like Sebastian something with the last name. Maybe. He had like long hair though. The guy that he was, that Sebastian. The guy he collaborated with. But that album, sick. For instance, as far as like compared to Daft Punk, he was kind of using more poppy stuff because it was more of like songs like with a singer and stuff. But it almost it sounded like the sounds you would hear later on with like Plastic Beach, just kind of like bigger EDM, like electric type synths and stuff. It was almost like retro without like the lo-fi. Everything was very hi-fi, but it was almost doing that 80s like throwback thing, but in like 2007. So like before the whole like 2010s bullshit with that stuff.
Nah, I love that sound. I love the sound of like a good analog synth over like a pop song, and it's not like heavily stylized, but it's almost like the sounds, adding the synths is what makes it like that stylized, which is like something that, you know, Gorillaz does often.
Oh, it's called Sexuality by Sebastian Tellier. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of him. I'm gonna have to check it out. Honestly, I probably would like it.
It's very like clean production, you know, great synths, fantastic synths. Really, it was very like nice to listen to. I really was enjoying it. The songs, I don't know if the songs were my favorite and stuff. There's like a couple that I liked. But yeah, so that's Guy, and then Toma. He only has like a handful of songs, but on one of the solo songs, I don't know if it's by Guy or by Sebastian. You know that thing at the end of Contact, the like the thing that starts getting like high.
Yeah. At the very end of the album, there's just like synth that's just like droning into like white noise, and then kind of just basically covers the whole album.
Yes. There's one of them has a solo song where it's like that the whole song, I believe.
Oh, oh, that's sick. That's probably where they got the idea from.
So you could hear them like kind of do some things or whatever, you know, that is like in the regular music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not always. I think Guy he has a remix of a Phoenix song, and that sounds very like almost like Daft Punky. It sounds,
Oh shit. Yeah, because they're friends.
yes, yeah. So I forget what it's called, but it's probably. I mean, I'm not super into like all of Phoenix's music, but that's like a standalone track. I forget what the song is called, but it's really dope. It's like really dope.
Their last album was really good.
Yeah. They had a really one of the songs, especially I really got drawn to, although the name leaves my head.
I'd like to get into some of these songs.
Yes, I was about to say the same thing.
Run through and kind of talk about it track by track, because each track is so individual and has its own unique character, and it's cool to kind of get your take on some of them.
Yeah, so we'll start. Yeah, give life back to music. The opening is insane.
Explosive intro. I mean, it's just
the keys.
I mean, that's how you start a fucking album.
The keys, the guitar, and then right into like the main groove of the song. Fantastic guitar riff. Very, very, very cool.
All that Niles Rodgers stuff. Just that he's very famous for like scratching, doing that scratch funk kind of thing, and then adding a melody over it with his pinky, and you can totally hear it.
Yes, I like that he composes like that, and very it's interesting guitar work. Yeah, but I've listened. That's like a lot of these songs are just like a song that you've played like over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's almost like ingrained, like you could sing the whole thing.
yeah, love like the melody. Love to play it on like loudspeakers. It just all the instruments sound so nice, like the piano with the drums and everything just done so well. I don't have anything bad to say about this song.
Yeah, you're just getting thrust into this world that they're creating, this super unique world that they're about to put you in, and it's just like the perfect mood setter and perfect first song. And just like the title, it kind of goes with what I was saying about the theme of this album was to recreate, their favorite tracks. So they're kind of pouring their life, giving their life back to the music that's influenced them over the years, which is a really cool beginning theme for the album,
That's funny. That sounds right and true, but that's just not that's not how I thought about it as far as just the give life back to music. I always thought about it as like dancing is like giving life back to like almost like giving your energy. It's like like a relationship. Like the song makes you dance and like it's a way you're interacting with it. But
right. And it could mean
right.
both. And I'm just extracting from the themes that I hear people that have worked on it explained. But at the same time, like it probably means like multiple things, because it's art, and I could totally see it meaning something like that too. And it kind of is like the ethos of this album as well as like and dancing and Daft Punk in general, house music. It's like you're always putting energy back into it, to get something out of it.
Yeah, it's a whole like experience. But yeah, anything else to say about this song?
No, it's awesome. All these songs are awesome.
But yeah, it's a bad habit.
Yeah. Oh, stop saying what?
But yeah, and then I say something right after that.
Oh my god, I was listening back to the last podcast and I said like so many times. So I'm really focusing on not saying like, but thinking about it probably means I'm going to say it. But yeah,
that's. Eventually it'll get better.
Yeah. But the Game of Love is next. So it kind of has this explosive intro with Give Life Back to Music, and then it really drops down to the quietest of tempos, right? To go into Game of Love, which stays pretty low for the whole thing.
So how I think about like conceptually like this song, I like this song a lot. is, on Discovery, what is it? Something About Us. That's the one that they sing. It almost seems like they were like
Yeah.
continuing that like sort of vibe, but like in the sense of we're creating it like not samples, but like with our own music kind of
That's
thing.
interesting.
And these are the lead vocals.
Yeah, I could
And
totally see that. It's a lot like that track, but in this environment.
yeah, like, okay, we're going to make another song like this, but instead of sampling, like, make our own song of it. So it was
Right.
cool to hear, like, them kind of go back to that sort of a thing, because that's a pretty big song. And, hit it out of the park. I like the song a lot. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
the
not,
song's
it's not a
amazing.
hit, and it's not as big as Something About Us, but, yeah, I'm satisfied with, that approach, if that was the approach. But it makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me too. I think that's true. And yeah, it's not like a banger. It's not like, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be more of like a ballad in a Daft Punk style, which is like really cool to hear. And just the way that they play with ambience, the lead synths coming in and out, the piano, and kind of like this vocoder robotic track singing over it is really cool. I don't know, dichotomy. So
Yeah.
it's just like a really cool mix of sounds that makes a very unique blend and like a great piece of music that you've never heard before. It's just like a super original song.
Yes, and it's dude, I love the the synth solo or whatever. I don't know what they're playing it on, but it's amazing and it sounds great. And I mean everything about it. The notes are great and lovely, lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
It just like you
And
hear
all the little comping work with like the drums and the guitar licks and the bass licks that just like pump like random energy into it that are still doing like these free flow sort of like fills, but not sounding too busy. They're just like perfectly working together. That's
Yeah.
just like so nice, and that's what you can only get from session players. You know?
Yes, yes. Oh, it's such an interesting choice, being like dance and house music your whole career, and then those drums, like they're so like in front of the mix and sound so big, and then to go to more of just like a cleaner like sounding drum kit with a drummer playing and him doing fills, that have feel and stuff, and such like a big swing.
Mm-hmm. It's a complete 180 from what they've done before. It's really
Yeah.
cool. But okay, the next one is Giorgio by
Yes.
Marauder.
Yes.
Fucking 6 songs. I mean,
Yes.
the fact that it's just a guy like talking over it and you can get that into it is just a testament to something that only Daft Punk or somebody at a really high level with a really great idea of what they want to do can like pull off.
You get like a history lesson over like a pretty cool instrumental.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh.
And it transports you back to that time that they're trying to get you to for the whole album, right?
Well, I didn't live in that time, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I like what I'm hearing. Because as far as transporting me back in time, I can't like reference any song that sounds like any of this. Especially when the fucking synthesizer comes in. The mod or doing like arpeggios.
Yes.
Like, I don't
what
know
I
what
mean to
sounds like
say
that.
is his story transports you back to that time or what may be like that time because of the descriptive language that he's using and the fact that he's like, going to discotheques like in Germany and like sleeping in his car and like passing and like learning what like a synth is like.
Okay, yeah.
It's just it's a wild story and yeah, it just kind of brings you into like a whole new world and the music like perfectly suits it.
Yeah, it's nice and tight. Nothing. It doesn't. It's not too long, and it doesn't like bore you.
Yeah.
It paints
So-
like a pretty like good picture fast.
So I would have figured that Giorgio Moroder would have made the synth part for this song. But I guess Daft Punk asked him to collaborate, and then they just, I don't know if they went out to dinner or if they just like, I mean, there's literally like plates clanking in the background, so I think they were out at like a restaurant, and they just, and Daft Punk just like asked him like, oh, like tell us like about your life, like about your story, and like how you became like who you are. And I guess he talked for 3 hours, and that's his only contribution to the album.
Okay. I didn't I don't know. I never thought about it. I didn't know who did the synths, but I guess I never thought it was him, just because he just seemed like an old guy and out of the game kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that's fucking weird. 3 hours out at dinner.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're fucking talking or whatever, but you get the point.
Yeah. I as soon as you said you hear like plates, like, because I didn't hear that story, but I was like, yeah, I guess they were out at dinner. I never like paid attention to what like that noise was.
I've always wondered what the noise was in the background, because you can hear like chatter and like something happening in the background, but when they said that all they did was interview him and that he just talked for like 3 hours, like it made sense. I was like, oh, okay, like they just literally put like a field recorder in front of this guy, and like it's just so funny to me how perfect the album is, how meticulous everything is, and then like this one part is just like an interview that's like recorded like outside, and I don't know, it just adds to like the charm of the album, because it goes against exactly what they were doing, but they just know that it sounds good and they don't care. They don't give a fuck, like, honestly, like they just like made this out of pure passion, and so that's why it comes out so good, and some parts are so left field.
Yeah, and the fucking drum solo, my goodness. The drums, and just like, how it's going along with the synth, and
Yep.
Such a fiery, spicy track.
Yep. Omar Hakim is, I had never heard of him before I heard this album, and I always just like, I was just so gravitated towards the drumming on this album, because for me, it's this really unique blend of like melodical playing, something like Lars Ulrich would do, where he like plays to the guitars and like, you know, to the bass, or, you know, or Brand Daler from Mastodon, who also plays to the guitars. It's something that's kind of backwards from the rules of drumming, but doing it in a session style like Omar Hakim does, it's like he maintains like the groove while playing these melodic parts over it, because he's like a jazz drummer first and foremost, and his style is completely different from, I think, any drummer like that's ever lived, and he's fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it like right on the head as far as like what I could hear within his drumming.
Right, he plays things out of left field that like wouldn't work, but he's listening so well to the music that it just like really blends in, you know.
And he has all the chops and like discipline of a studio musician. He's just been doing it, I guess, for so long, and he's been very focused about like his craft and stuff. I luckily I had the pleasure to see him play probably like 6 months ago now.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, at the Taylor Hawkins tribute. I think.
Right, that's so cool.
I think he's like one of the new drummers for the Foo Fighters. I think, I'm not sure.
What did he play? What song did he play?
Could I remember? I feel like it wasn't a song that like utilized him that much. I don't remember. Every drummer played a different song.
You don't have an Instagram, but you have to check out his Instagram sometime, dude. It's so wholesome.
He's
like literally just smiling, like taking pictures with like Dave Grohl and stuff. Like, I'm having the best time. Like, love my brother Dave Grohl, and like just stuff like that. Like, but like with the fucking top of the top echelon of musicians. Anybody just like acting like a normal ass dude. Like, he's just super cool.
Oh wow, was it like So he's been with Dave Grohl?
Yeah, I think they're friends. Or maybe it was a picture with Taylor Hawkins. It was one of them. Probably Taylor Hawkins. That would make more sense.
Yeah, let's see. I have it up.
Pull it
what
up,
did he
Jamie.
play? Oh, yeah, he played a song I don't really know. That's why. Run.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think I know that song either. Foo Fighters has like 10 trillion songs.
Yeah, they played some new songs that I was not, or whatever.
Yeah, but another Daft Punk thing that I heard about this album and the production of it is that for a lot of it, and there must have been custom parts. Well, I don't know, because you know how the synth goes with the drum fill? Like, and there's like little parts of it that like match really well with the drums in this album.
Yes.
I don't know how they did it, but I know that they approached Omar Hakim and they wanted him to like drum on the album. So what he did was he recorded like a drum library for them and he just sent it to them. And then they made the album off of that. I don't know if he came in for specific parts after the fact or if he like played that fill and then they built the synth part around it, which would be an interesting way to do it that I didn't think of. But like, yeah, so
you're saying
his
for
involvement,
that whole album?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought, my understanding, I thought he would come in and record with a band. Like they would give him like 4 chords or something and they would jam over that. And then from those sessions, they would sample. Because I think when they originally asked him, he expected, because he does a lot of work with like electronic drums and stuff, so he figured it would be stuff like that in sounds. So I think the part of him preparing that sort of a thing sounds familiar to me. But also, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it was a blend.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely seen videos of the making of this album where they're like all in the studio playing together. So it was probably like a blend, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah, he seems to love music a lot. But yeah, we'll get on with the track list.
Yeah.
So Within, this is sort of the second song that I felt was like a almost them in like a band setting, and like they're the lead vocalist. And this one I don't love as much the tune and like the chorus.
This is the one that's like da na 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 na, right?
Yeah, that part's fine. I don't like the do 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 bom 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 bom. With the auto tune, it's a bit much, and one of the things I don't love about the album. But I mean, it's also like it's not like the worst thing ever, but it just it didn't hit for me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I find myself like skipping this song, but I still appreciate it. But like, it's not one of the highlights on the album for me. But one thing I really do like about it is the piano work. The piano work is like really beautiful.
Yeah,
and that was done by a guy named Chili Gonzalez, I think.
That's a fucking cool, interesting name.
Yeah.
But yeah. All the instrumentation I think is pretty like good on the song, because there's stuff on the song that I do like, and still with great musicians. But it for that one, as far as like what does not hit for me, it's more of the like the melody of like the chorus.
Yeah, I like a lot of the vocoder harmonies that are on it that hit at like really random times. Like if you listen really closely, the singing, the vocoders, they hit like these really interesting harmonies, and the fact that they're going through that processing makes it sound really cool, like a synth. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Yeah. All right. Next, Instant Crush. So
yeah, this sounds sick.
Yeah, I maybe remember hearing like this before the album had come out. This was like, I remember this being pretty big too when it came out, and people were pretty excited about it. And I'd see the music video, and it's pretty interesting. It's a very interesting song. It's gotten more and more interesting as the years have passed to me, because I don't think I was into this.
I feel like he's almost like mumble singing over it, like the equivalent of like mumble rap, if you can call it that.
Yeah,
You
he
almost
has
can't
a
make out what he's saying.
yeah. That's a lot similar to a lot of like his other stuff, as far as his style, and it's almost
Yeah.
as I don't know. I think this is one where the musicians don't play on it as much. I think like Daft Punk sort of made it,
hmm
and it sounds like they made a Strokes song, and were like, might as well just like ask Julian like if he wants to sing over it, because like the just like straight like plucking of do 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 the bass guitar is like palm muting, like with a pick.
Yeah.
And then even the guitar solo sounds like something that the lead guitar player from the Strokes like would play, even with the
Yeah.
layers that it's like harmonization like guitar solo. So
They're probably like heavily influenced by them, and it makes sense because of that whole thing about going back to like regular instruments, going back to like the source and kind of what makes music feel good, like in your gut. And I feel like the Strokes also try to go for that in a lot of
yeah,
their music. So I kind of see the connection there.
yeah.
But this guitar solo is probably my favorite on the album. The guitar solo is so good. Just the way it's playing like kind of wrong notes, at these times. And I don't know who did it. I'm not sure. But it's fucking sick.
I think Tomas.
Really? He could play like that?
I think one of them. Well, they started with rock instruments.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that. I'm gonna have to. I guess I don't know if I could look that up. Well, I won't do that right now. But yeah, great song. It's very interesting, especially the chorus.
Yeah.
The auto tune, and then he's singing like an octave below that, which is like such a nice touch. And that sounds more of like what he does like in his solo music and with the Strokes, and just what you know him for. But yeah, it almost comes off like a weird like Strokes Daft Punk song. And
honestly, this song is one of my favorites on the album for sure. It's just like perfect. There's really nothing bad. It's just like perfect all the way through.
Yeah, and a cool music video as well to put on top of that.
Yeah. The visuals of this album are sick. All of their artwork, the way that they brought the musical instruments into it. Like, if you've ever seen that picture of the transparent keyboard, every time I see that thing, I'm like, wow, can't believe that fucking exists. Like, that's amazing.
Shit looks cool. Yeah,
like
the way they did it.
Transparent keyboard.
Yeah, the music video with, I think, for both Get Lucky and Lose Yourself to Dance, like them with the instruments and wearing those like weird jackets.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very cool.
The chrome.
The presentation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll get into Lose Yourself to Dance by Pharrell Williams. This was like a kind of personal favorite. When I was first getting into the album, a lot of it was a guitar. I really loved what Nile Rodgers did with guitar layering, and kind of what he's putting like melody within like funk like scratching chords and stuff, and just being really tasteful at that. Loved playing, like learning it while I was in high school, and then I would play it very, very often. Sometimes I still even go to it.
Yeah.
It's pretty repetitive. I've heard people like not like the song. It's like the same thing over and over again, or they might not like Pharrell's voice or whatever. But
like high voice.
Yeah, which like I get it. Like it's just kind of there's a lot of repeating in it, but I enjoy the song.
Yeah, I like this song. I do agree that it can get a bit repetitive, but one thing that stands out to me on this track is Nile Rodgers. What's really cool about him is like he grew up playing in Chic, and a lot of other music that's like much more faster tempo, and he kind of like does his thing right over like these faster tempos with like a groovy drum track and like a bass track. But what's cool hearing him on something like this or like Just Dance, where it's like dancey yet
Lose
somber.
Yourself to Dance. Just Dance.
Oh yeah,
Lady
not
Gaga
Just Dance,
song.
not the yeah, or the Wii video game. But
The video game.
yeah, or hearing him on something like well, no. Actually, no, you corrected me, but actually, what I meant is Just Dance by David Bowie.
Okay.
Is that what that song's called?
The
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I think so. Just Dance.
Oh, you made me feel crazy for a second. Yeah. So, hearing him on Just Dance, which he's also on, or something like Lose Yourself to Dance, is really cool because it's like a little bit more somber almost in its approach, and it's like a little bit slower, but he can still use that same formula over it and like execute it in this way that like sounds really good. So that's my main thing that I like about this track.
Yeah. He kills it. The guitars sound great. Yeah. Anything else?
No.
All right. Touch by Paul Williams. So.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This song's amazing.
I like this song, although it would kind of confuse me when I first started listening to the album because the chords are so similar to Get Lucky. There's differences and stuff as far as like where the song goes and stuff, but that was one thing, or at least it felt similar to like Get Lucky.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at the chords, but I could kind of see that. But to me, what separates it is the fact that this song is like an 8-minute epic, and it like changes like 20,000 times.
Yeah.
But I love this track for a lot of reasons. Like the vocals over it are really just really awesome. They're great. The lyrics are cool. So this one's Paul Williams, right?
Yes.
So I guess he wrote all the Sesame Street shit. And he used to write a lot for like A&R, back in those 60s days where like, there's just like songwriters in there, and Joni Mitchell would come in and stuff like that, all those people. So he's from that era, but he just like completely understands like the assignment and like just really lets himself go in terms of the vocal performance and the lyrics. Just like completely kind of exposing himself, not putting on like any front, kind of dropping everything. And it adds to the theme of the song, that like first contact or first touch with like whatever being this is, that like, I don't know. For me, that just like matches up so well. And then apparently this song was 250 tracks long.
Oh,
like
shit.
That's how many fucking tracks are in this. Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's like it's like massive. It's like completely massive. And even just that orchestra, like I was saying, like that 70-person orchestra, this was the 70-person orchestra on the album, was on this song. And then it was probably on which one was it? Beyond. But anyways, just all of that together, just makes for like an amazing song. And then it goes into like this breakdown part that's just like so good. It just hits you in the feels. So I don't know. This is the most emotional song on the album for me. It's just great.
Yeah, it's great. It's lovely. The only thing was just like as far as like groove and feel. I don't know what the actual chords are, but I was like, is this supposed to be like an intro into Get Lucky? But I had no idea what a Paul Williams was, but I thought it was a very, very interesting choice to have him kind of take lead vocals. When your other like lead vocalists are like younger dudes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like obvious and stands out, but I like the ride it takes me on.
Yeah, definitely. I almost like it for that reason. It's such an
Mm-hmm.
interesting choice. You know,
There's a lot of
it's an
personality,
interesting
I think,
choice. Yeah, for
in his
sure.
voice.
Yeah, there is, and he's not afraid to like be a little scraggly, you know, and just like let it out. It's
Oh,
cool.
dude, yeah, I think it's good for the music, most
Yeah,
definitely. Um,
but
all
then we
right,
have Get Lucky, which we already kind of talked about. But
yeah, just like and especially when you hear it on the album, it's different from the single version. So there was like a little bit more of a intro, like 8 bars or
hmm
whatever.
yeah, it was a little extended.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
The club banger sounds
is that
like it was
great?
written with that in mind, and it succeeded.
Yeah. Um, dude, it makes me think maybe just because of the album cover and the time it came out, spring. So the sun's is out like longer. We have California sun, so it really like it worked well. It fit well. Um, gives me I don't know. It's a feel good song. But you know how
Yeah.
they recorded musicians and then they would like sample from those sessions? And then
Yes.
they'll bring them back in to like okay, and they'll like kind of play it more like this.
Yeah.
The middle of the song when it starts to break down because after hearing like more about that, I would while listening to this album try to like see like what is a full performance and what is something that they cut and stuff, and that's kind of impossible to really tell with your ears because you could do that with Eddie Van Halen's guitar solos. He would record like 4 different solos and then take splices from like each of them
hmm
and put it into one thing. But they go into like a pretty classic Daft Punk thing during that little breakdown. You know that hi-hat thing that
Yeah.
they do, the
Yeah.
and
hmm
then so that I was trying to think like is that being played by a drummer? I don't know. Is that Omar Hakim on that song? Because I know
I
there's a
think
couple of
he
different
probably
drummers.
yeah, no,
I
I'm
think it
not
is him
sure.
because he played at the Grammys with him that song.
Yeah, he was probably on it. And then the way that it grooves is similar to a style that he would play. Less busy, but I think he kind of understands with a song like this to be less busy kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So like it's like drumming, like it sounds like a band playing, and then when it goes to that middle part, the breakdown and those hi
Yeah,
hat, I'm like,
with the
I can,
Daft Punk vocals.
yeah, I can't tell if it's like him doing that on the drums. It might be like him doing that and them cutting it and sampling over it. I can't, or if they just like took the sound of the hi hat and did what they did on like their earlier songs, like back in the day. But it's
Yeah,
very cool because it's just like it has all of it, like the stuff that they're going for with like the new musicians, Pharrell on the track. Now they come in with the vocoder, and then on top of that,
right.
just like it sounds super Daft Punk,
Yeah, that's
and it's
so
just
true. It's like
it's so
you
great.
have this like new style that they're going for that they're like executing, and then like it's almost like the Daft Punk part of the song. Like, oh, like here's where it's Daft Punk, and they go into it, and yeah, it's got this like swishy hi hat thing, and then it kind of adds a four on the floor, like typical of dance, do 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 do. And I'm not sure how exactly they recorded it, but it must have been processed in some way. It sounds more like electronic drums or some sort of like heavily processed drums over what Omar was already playing.
That's probably it.
But yeah, it just adds like this extra oomph to it at just the right moment, and the fact that they can bring it in and out like that and it doesn't sound awkward is like dope.
Yeah, it's not something that I caught until like years later when I was just thinking about the music a lot.
Yeah, and you're
But
like, what the fuck is this part? Wow. Yeah.
yeah, well, it was just something I recognized in their earlier songs, and it was something that I liked in their earlier songs. So then,
hmm
re-listening to Random Access Memories, I was like, oh, like they put that shit in here too. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably because I think there's like fills even during that part. So it's probably like a drum track of him, and then they put that sound on top of it. Who knows? I like it.
Yeah.
It sounds good. Daft Punk, Beyond. And this is the one with the orchestra. Yeah, in the beginning, the do do do. It's like really big.
Yes. Yeah, so Beyond has this huge like orchestral intro, and then it kind of like goes into this like, what do they hit, like the wind chimes or whatever, like, and then it kind of swooshes into this. Yeah, it swooshes. The curtain,
Beginning of a
opens
scene.
to this. Yeah, with the one like light beam, going right on Daft Punk, and
Reminded me of like Danny Elfman Spider-Man.
yeah, it's so crazy how there's like parts of this album that you can like visualize. Like you can literally visualize the sound, But this song is definitely one of those moments, especially in that beginning part, and then like when the snare comes in, it kind of slowly builds like throughout the whole song. It's a really cool track. It's super listenable.
Yes, that's all you could want out of a song. Is that it's
Yeah,
listenable.
and
That's like if you said that to Daft Punk, they would probably think you were insulting them.
Yeah,
like, your song's listenable.
Yeah, that means it's shit. Yeah,
but spit on you.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, I feel that. I love the synth solo at the end. Really cool.
Yeah.
It's just got this arpeggiating thing, and it's just got that super Daft Punk vibe. And then I'm pretty sure like all the other instruments like fade out, and then it kind of just goes into this more arpeggiated big synth part, and that's kind of another one of those like visualization parts that you can kind of really see, So that's that. If there was ever a Daft Punk live performance, seeing this song live and seeing what they had to do with the visuals with it would be like, I mean, that's beyond bucket list. That's like fucking dream world shit right there.
That's interesting you say that. Yeah. I like this song. I like the chord progression. Much like how like Touch kind of made me think of Get Lucky. Like the Nile Rodgers, it might not even be Nile Rodgers playing the guitar, but the guitar riff, do it kind of made me feel remind me of the like Give Life Back to Music guitar riff, the down bounce 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 ba and then Beyond is like do. But I like the chords. The chords are great on this song, and it is definitely like his own song with its own hook. And yeah, another song with like the robot singing in that fucking orchestra in the beginning. It's so like it sounds so big and in your face.
Yeah, I mean they even have like orchestral drums and stuff that they're playing, like timpanis and stuff. And I mean they got a fucking orchestra, like that's
they could
not
afford it.
Yeah, that's not like computerized. That's total real people, and it sounds cool. Oh man, to be a fly on the wall in that session. Imagine what that session was like. Holy shit.
Yeah, hearing that sort of stuff live, like when you hear that many musicians like in a live setting, and you need to be there. There's nothing that could really show that to you.
Yeah.
In a room like that's built for that sort of a thing.
But then we got Motherboard. This is the one that's like, didn't it? Right?
Yeah, I fucking love this song.
Yeah, this song is just ultimate vibes. The way that the slide guitar comes in with the drums and, doing these soft like brushes type thing is just, I don't know. That's the kind of stuff you could only get from professionals. It's
sort of because people will just kind of like call this like a funk album or a disco like influenced album. This is like a song where they really all go into like their own thing, and it's very forward thinking. Yeah, and I wish that they would almost make like an album like in this direction or something. Yeah. Like I want to hear more of it. I love it all. It's fucking great. Underrated.
It's an underrated track for sure.
The synths, the riff, the keyboards going do do do, and then the bass going do 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 do. It's so great. It's so great all the way through as well. It's not the shortest song in the world. Yeah, we've been going.
And it's all just so polished. They're like free flowing, but it's so tight and it's so polished, and then it has that Daft Punk element of being sort of computerized, so it's organic yet really organized, and it's just like, I don't know, you can't really capture that magic like unless you're, a genius. So this is just one of those tracks where like everything just came together in the right way.
Yeah, I hope it somehow like gets another, I don't know, burst of life with like popularity, because it deserves it. It's a really cool song, underrated track.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of, hope it gets a bump in popularity, Fragments of Time, ultimate summer song.
yeah, great song. I know the fans, this is one they like a lot. But it almost seems like it should be like a bigger song. Fucking great.
Yeah, it's
They're
just
also
such
talented.
good vibes. Like, this one is just one of those ones where they just capture the energy so perfectly. And this guy Todd Edwards, I guess, he's a DJ. I haven't heard any of his shit. He's from New Jersey, but he's sang on Face to Face. He's a singer for Face to Face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I didn't know that. I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is the same guy. If you hear the voice, it's like the same. But so he's worked with them before. He's really familiar with them, and you can kind of hear that coming through in the track. And now that they're about to have this 10-year re-release, they've released the writing sessions for this track, and they're really cool because you can hear, Guy-Man and Thomas and Todd like bouncing back and forth, about the lyrics, making it up on the fly, and like just hitting these like great hooks, and just trying to get the perfect words, to capture the energy that they're feeling, that they're trying to capture for this track. And it's a cool, it's a unique track. It's just a fun one. It's just really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's so much going on, but it sounds so nice and free flowing. So yeah, Todd Edwards, his like production style is taking very short like samples rather than sampling something for 4 bars or 8 bars. He'll do like a very small snippet and do a ton of them from different places, and then make a totally like new piece of music out of that. Which, if you know Face to Face pretty well, there's like all sorts of like craziness happening. And
yeah, there's like hundreds of layers, it's just going on all in different directions. Yeah, but it works so well. Yeah,
especially loved Face to Face, one of my favorite Daft Punk songs. But yeah, also this one he does the same thing in the chorus, and you could kind of hear when that sort of a thing picks up. But it sounds so like smooth as well and lush, and it really fits in to the recording. Right.
Keep playing. Dun, 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 dun. It just works,
Yeah. I thought it was like a bunch of I thought it was like 20 session musicians and someone playing like a lap like steel guitar. But I guess he just like was sampling a bunch of shit, which is like even cooler.
Damn, I didn't know that. Yeah, it was a sample. That's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, from like what my ears could gather and like what I heard, I think, because there's like drums and bass. So I think that's like live, instrumentation type of a thing. But the chorus, like when it goes bop, 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 like all that craziness. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like that's him.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then it goes.
Oh, I was just gonna say same thing on Face to Face. The da 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 da, and then like guitars, like bump bump, like palm muted guitars. That's all him.
He's actually really cool. I bet his original music is fucking good. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, I've only heard like some of it, and I mean, he was doing that shit. A song didn't like catch me really, but I only listened to like a few songs. But like on top of like adding that flavor to like Daft Punk and like having that sort of a thing, you have this R&B, almost like 90s R&B voice, and you make a song in 2000 2012, 2013. And
Right.
it's so like strange. It's such like a strange choice, I think personally, but it works really
Yeah, it
well,
sounds
and you come out with a
it's
good song.
it sounds like nothing that was coming out at the time, and it does kind of go back. So that's another thing is like they wanted to do that 60s, 70s, and 80s, but with this song, I almost feel like a early 2000s or like a late 90s kind of vibe, you know. But
I agree
you
100%.
know, it just works, you know. It still goes with the theme, and it like totally works. And whether that was intentional or not, I'm not sure, but like definitely gives off that vibe. And yeah, I hope with the re-release or just, you know, and I know it's a big song, and the fan base really likes it, but it'd be cool to hear it like, you know, as a song, like when you're out like doing something, you know. It's like, oh, cool, they're playing this song, or even like on the radio, dude. I wish like freaking K Rock or something would play, you know, songs like this rather than, you know,
Fucking Sum 41 or
yeah,
something.
or My Hero 100 times. But yeah, so
Yeah.
okay, cool. So doing it right?
Yes, we talked about it a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not that there's not much more to say about it, but yeah, great song.
Yeah.
Love Panda Bear on it. You know, it's repetitive, but I like it. It's
Yeah, I feel like his vocals fit perfectly with the beat. And this beat is like one of my favorites. It does get repetitive after a while, but like the long 808 bass with this really crisp like snare. And, you know, there's not much other than the drums. There's like a little bit of stuff happening, but it's mostly the drums are at the forefront and Panda Bear's voice. And
yeah.
it's just a really cool sound. It just sounds really good. Like you listen to that with some good headphones, and, you know, it's just like ear candy kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And this song to me was like really of the time. Everything around was like we were going into the next decade with like technology and you know, like iPhones. That's like around the time where everyone was kind of starting to like actually get that, because the years prior it was more of like an exclusive thing that some people had, but this was like the transition of everybody like sort of getting into all of that. And like the sound was so like big and new and like lush, and, you know, nice pairs of headphones were like a lot more accessible. That was one. Oh, that's another thing about this album. When I first got those Audio Technica headphones, that's is around the time this album was coming out. So to hear this like with those was, you know, fucking amazing, world changing,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear this album on a good pair of headphones, it changes how good you think music can sound, like truly.
Yes.
I mean, it was a game changer in terms of production and sound quality, and it continues to be. And since then, I don't know of any albums that have come this close, sounded this good. You know, when I think of best sounding albums, I think of Steely Dan's Asia, and I think of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's those are the two that really stand out to me.
Especially like in that type of like style and
Yeah,
stuff.
just
'Cause
crisp, hi-fi.
Hi-fi. You're recording like real instruments. It gets harder when you like go hip hop and stuff, just because those sounds, like electronic sounds, are so different.
Yeah, and,
Like,
and you kind of want a little bit of that grit a lot of times.
Yeah, it's just like at the forefront of the mix and like the sound itself, rather than recording like somebody hitting a drum, and then it's just it's just different. It's just really different. But yeah, great song. Contact.
Yeah,
Talk about this
Contact.
song. You talk about this song first.
Oh, I mean, honestly, I'm good. I'll be completely honest. I don't have much to say about this song. I like it, but I find myself just me. I find myself like skipping the end when I'm listening to this album. It gets a little big, and the ambition kind of like, I feel like for me, like, gets a little. I don't know. I almost hate even saying that it gets a little carried away because it's the end of the album. It's this explosion. So, and I know that's what they're going for, and
And a drum solo on top of that.
yeah, and a drum solo with like synths like blaring, like and all the orchestra going, and like I know that's what they're going for, but like personally, sometimes I skip this song.
I feel very similar.
Yeah,
Very similar about this song, this is a song that people bring up that is like, oh, this is my favorite song on the album, or like you have to listen to the song, it's so epic. I hate the thing that turns me away is the chords. The four chords that they use for this song, and it's the same four chords the whole time. It's like one of those chord progressions that, you know, I don't know how many years ago they would like make YouTube videos about like, oh, this many pop songs. And as far as like that sort of a thing, if you're able to use them in like a creative way, and I can't really notice, it's fine. It shouldn't be like a rule to like not use them in pop music, but it's just like straight out, and then they build intensity. It's like those are like the chords, the chord progression they use. You ever see those videos, those motivational videos where it's like a football coach, like you hear audio of like a football coach yelling while watching like someone with like chains and a tire behind them like run up a mountain or something.
Yeah.
And like doing push-ups. They use like this chord progression.
Yeah.
And
I see.
Yeah, so that's like, and it's always a turnoff for me whenever I hear it in pop music or any like song, and this is what they're going for. So the fact
like
that they just kind of, and like the concept for the song is like a big epic thing, which almost makes it like corny to me, like and I'm not the biggest fan of arpeggiating synths, especially in this sense, because like people, you know, will buy like very expensive like Moogs and stuff, and you know, you play the chords and then it arpeggiates, but it just feels like it's not. You could play arpeggios on the like piano or on a keyboard. Like I don't see like why it's worth so much money or like that cool, because if you throw it over like any song, it's just gonna arpeggiate whatever chords like the chord progression is.
Well, I love arpeggiated synths in specific contexts. Like I mean, even going back to what was it, Motherboard, that has that arpeggiated synth, but everything is kind of
Beyond
quiet.
has it, I think.
Beyond, yeah, and then everything kind of drops out, right? And then the arpeggiated synth becomes the forefront because it's a lot of fucking noise, you know. So that's what I like. So kind of with Contact, you know, it's like it's got the arpeggiation, it's got the drum solo, it's got the strings, it's got a guitar solo, and then it's got horns going over it, which I forgot about. So it's just like too much, you know, and so when you arpeggiate a synth over that, it's like a lot, you know, and literally like this is totally just my taste. I mean, if somebody, you know, listening has a different opinion, I would love to hear it, like in the comments, you know, convince me why you like this song, because I know a lot of Daft Punk fans do, and you know, I can see the charm in it. So
yeah, you know, they're just like, I guess, good. Like it's a good. I like that there's a drum solo, and you know,
drum solo's fire.
Shout out, yeah, he's doing a great job. But you know, if that's a chord progression and that's what the whole song is like based off of, then it's like, all right, you know, I can't. There's nothing else for me to really get into. Yeah, and and this was never the ending of the album for me. And so like later on when I learned that this was it made more sense as far as like, oh yeah, that's like some big fucking thing happening. Yeah. You know, as the close. But yeah, anything else to say about Contact? Also, I mean, as far as our, you know, because I'm not a big fan of our arpeggiating synth, I like it on Beyond. I like the chord progression. So when the synth is arpeggiating, like the chords move along. It's a cool progression. I like it a lot more on that song, and obviously Giorgio.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yes. So okay, Horizon.
Horizon. so just to give some context, this was an unreleased track that was apparent. Was it on the album in Japan, or was it a bonus track on the Japanese release?
I think it was a bonus track, but here's the thing. So this is back in the day. It was 14 songs, and that's just how it was on iTunes, my iPod or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just what I
So
knew.
you
I
thought
didn't
this
know
was part of the album? Yeah.
it didn't say
Yeah.
Japanese bonus track or anything. Not until I would start listening to the album on Spotify. Then it wasn't on.
So you thought this was the end of the album?
Yes, and I was like, oh, I guess it's just like an iTunes I didn't know it was even a Japanese exclusive. But yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like another song was like taken away from me.
When I heard this song for the first time, it was like a lot later. Like this was like in like 2020, and it popped up on my YouTube, and I'm like, and I had the Random Access Memories cover, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I've never heard this song. Like, is this like one of those weird videos where like somebody makes a song that sounds like Daft Punk and they try to like release it as like a Daft Punk song? And I'm listening to it. I'm like, no, this totally sounds like Random Access Memories. You can hear all the production value and all the musicians on there, and I fell in love with it. I think this is a great song. This is an amazing song. I don't even know why it's not on the album. Honestly, they could have put it in there somewhere, and it would have totally worked. But for whatever reason, they didn't. And I'm excited for that 10-year re-release because it's gonna finally be on. Because I don't even think it was on the deluxe version of the American release, anyways. So yeah,
I don't even know what
I
would
love
be
this
on
song.
that.
Huh?
The like a deluxe version of the American, like what else besides the 13 songs would be on that? Did they even have that?
I don't know. I'll have to look. I mean, I remember there was a vinyl that was like a really nice vinyl version of this album that was like expensive, and it had like, I feel like it had a couple other tracks, but something I have to look into. But I don't remember Beyond being on it. So yeah, but now it will be.
Yeah. Horizon.
Oh yeah, Horizon. My bad.
Well, it's called. I looked at that thing that they're gonna when does that come out? This weekend?
Soon.
Or
yeah.
Thursday or whatever. It's
yeah, soon.
I didn't see the track link, but it's called Horizon something else. Horizon. So I don't know if it's gonna be like a studio outtake or something. It's called. There's something after Horizon. The word Horizon. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested to hear what that is. This was never like. It's a very nice sounding song. It's the least Random Access Memory, like alongside Doing It Right. So I could kind of see why they left it off the album because it's very vibey, and there's drums. Yeah, as like the song goes on, like a drum kit.
But it's almost like a country song in the beginning, which is like random.
Yeah, acoustic guitar. It kind of made me think that maybe Guy is taking more of the lead because it just reminded me more of the Sexuality album I mentioned prior.
Yeah.
As far as like that, like kind of the types of like electric bass and stuff and drums in the beginning on it. It's very nice sounding. Yeah. As far as the rest of the songs on the track list are like more so like songs with like vocals and stuff besides Motherboard, but then they just kind of all go ham on that. And then Horizon is like more like chilled out and like open without like anything too specific on it. So as far as like a bonus, like I could see.
Yeah, and also it's not super long. It's actually like really short, and it's only like one part. So I could see that they like maybe worked on it. They got it sounding really nice, and then they're like, okay, well, we don't know where to take this. So, but yeah, I mean, I hate to cut it short, but I have to get out of here. So, any closing final thoughts about the album, real quick?
No. I think we went long, actually.
Yeah, we went long. This album is an amazing album. It's one of the best albums of all time, and I love it. So it was great talking about it.
Yes.
Alrighty.
2013, Daft Punk.